What's going on, everybody? Yes, it's dark. I know that somebody's going to come on here and be like, it's so dark in there. Turn on the light so that we can see you. I was actually going to do this video without even being on the camera, but at the last minute, I was like, let me just flip on my camera at school. So, something I was thinking about today. This morning was a big day. Last night, I watched the challenge. And for those who are channel members of my page or friends of mine outside of YouTube, you know that I've been going back and forth about this interview that I wanted to do with Maria. So what happened most recently is we were one episode away from the final, but they had not announced that the final was upcoming. So I wasn't sure when the challenge final was coming up. And Cara Maria was still in the mix at the time. So I just had an assumption. I'm like, of the four remaining women, I'm not even saying that it was for sure that she was going to be one of the final three, I guess it is. Rachel, Tori, Michelle, Jenny. Oh, there was 5 women. Okay. So I wasn't even saying for sure she was going to be one of the final 4, but I did feel like she was probably going to be one of the final 4. So therefore, I was thinking about the timing of when she said that she could do the interview with me. And I was thinking to myself, the finale won't be done when I do this interview. So this is what was in my mind this whole time. So I was like, do I book her before the final? Do I wait until after and then take my chances of her next available time? And then she goes out in yesterday's episode, and I'm like, oh, so she's not even in the finals. So I could interview her right now for all I care. So that pushed me to make my decision today, where I said, okay, I'm going to book this today. Good evening, Ma. So I was going back and forth with everything, and I was just figuring out this website that she uses, and I was doing the booking and everything. And what came to mind was actually my dad, because I had this memory of when I discovered that he liked my channel. So in 2000 and okay, this had to be possibly the year before I started covering Big Brother. So 2021, on my music and mental health page. I had a page, my music and mental health page at that time was just mental health messages. And I used to put YouTube on the TV when my dad was sick. This was after he had his stroke and I was caretaking for him. So I used to put him in front of the TV while I was working, and I was working remote at that time. And he would like for me to I would put on some old boxing matches that he liked, some old basketball games that he liked. I would put on High Chiricity and Cass Wash and Marshall. Hi, Marshall. So I'd put on different things that he liked. I'd put on his gospel music that he liked. And sometimes I couldn't sit there with him. So I would just have a playlist, and then I would just let the playlist play out. So what happened was, I believe that one day I was looking at one of my videos on the TV. I think this is back when I just figured out how to connect my YouTube to my TV with Bluetooth, so I could watch videos from YouTube on my TV. I know you can actually just go on the TV and also have the YouTube app on the TV, but you know the way where you're actually watching a specific video and then you can just click on your TV and then it loads the video up. So I like to do that with my videos sometimes on occasion when I decide to watch them back. I love looking at them on the TV because it makes me feel like I'm famous or something. And some of my friends and family actually tell me that when they watch my videos of my lives, they load them up on their TV and they're watching me on TV while they cook or eat or do whatever, work, work from home. So I think that's pretty cool. But anyways, long story short, I put on whatever I put on for him. Let's say I put on his music. And then, hi, Ed. Let's say I put on his music and then I left the room because I had things to do, I had calls to make, etc. And I came back and I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't realize that your stuff had stopped. So I put on whatever I was putting on for him, his music or his sporting event or whatever it is that he wanted to see or what I thought he wanted to see. And at that point in time, because of his stroke, he couldn't clearly communicate with his words very well. So he couldn't express himself well. So he was like, no, not that. No, no, not that, not that. He kept saying, no, not that. And I didn't know why he kept saying no, because I kept putting on different things that he loves watching. I put on his gospel music. He's telling me he doesn't want to see that. I'm putting on his basketball game. He doesn't want to see that. I'm putting on his boxing, his Muhammad Ali matches that he loves so much. He's like telling me no to everything. And I'm so confused because he never told me no. Whatever I put on for him, like when somebody has Alzheimer's and dementia, they love rewatching old things that they remember from past times that were, memorable for them, like happy times and happy moments. So there was never anything that I ever put on that he told me no, but he was telling me no, no, no to everything. And then I don't remember how I got to one of my videos, but he saw the thumbnail. He saw me on the thumbnail and he was like, that. And I was like, what do you mean that? He was like, I like that one. I was like, what do you mean I like that one? So I was like, me? He said, yeah, I like that one. So apparently what had happened is that after the playlist of whatever I had on for him finished, one of my YouTube videos then auto played and he was sitting there. And then I had a playlist and I think it cycled through like 3 or 4 of my videos. And these were 30 minute videos. And he sat there and he watched all of them. And he loved those videos. And I was so surprised because I didn't even know that's what he was talking about. And he had never watched my YouTube page before. I think he knew I had one, but he wasn't interested in it. But all of a sudden he saw these videos that I made about mental health and he was like, that is so special. He was just like, you have a talent, you have a gift for that. You need to keep doing that. And he was just very, very into all my videos. So now I would actually create the videos and then upload the videos. And then when I had time, I would sit down and me and him would watch the videos together. And it was so special just to see that big smile on his face. Like he got so happy looking at me make these videos. And then actually, I don't think he knew anything about Big Brother, but sometimes he would be sitting right there in the room while I was making my Big Brother lives, whether it was me arguing with people or whether it was me laughing or telling some jokes or whether it was me just putting the live feeds on the screen. I think he didn't even, at that point, I don't even think he really understood too much about what I was doing, but he just knew that I was creating these videos for my page, and it made him very happy. And I got a kick out of that, during his last days, or his last couple of years, that the things that I was doing, he was so encouraging of them. So this thing with Kara is special, and it's not even because of Kara. Like, I'm not downplaying that part of it. Kara is my second favorite challenger, my favorite female challenger, but my second favorite behind Wes overall as a challenger. He was always my favorite. But so I'm not downplaying that part of it. I'm very excited because it's Kara. But when it came to him, and especially towards the end of his life, he was so encouraging of me to follow my dreams. And before he was sick, he was not really encouraging me to follow my dreams. He was hardwired to tell me to do things the way that he did them. Go to school, get your master's degree, get your PhD, get into somebody's office, work your way up the corporate ladder, become a boss, work, do your 30, 40 years, however long it is, get your pension, get your 401k plan, make the right investments. Happiness was not a thing. Have a good evening. Have a good evening, Marshall. Happiness was not a thing. Not for him, not for my mom, not for my grandparents, aunts, uncles. Like, for most of them, happiness was not a thing. Nor was following your passions, because I remember when he really badly wanted me to be an accountant like him. He was upset at me, actually, for not following that path of trying to be an accountant. And I was like, Dad, I don't have an interest in accounting. I don't like it. And he was like, you think I like accounting? Like, you think people get jobs because they like them? Like, who does that? You get your job and you do things that you don't like just to, get the things you want, or to feed your family, that kind of thing. That was what he told me my whole life up until 2020, 2021, after he got sick. So that's awesome. That's my dad was my dad was mine as well. Oh, I missed the previous comment. My dad is my biggest fan. You know what? My dad, it's interesting because the person that I'm talking to you about from 2020 to 2023, to me, was a totally different person from the one from 1987 when I was born up until 2019. But you know what? I'm thankful that I did get 3 years of this version that I'm talking about, or more like 2, because the last year he was not really cognizant of what was going on too much, but definitely in 2020, 2021, some of 2022. So I remember one thing that sticks in my mind is that he told me probably about 2021, which was when he only had that one stroke. He said something to the effect of, he's like, Mark, you know how I always encouraged you to do this traditional path that I have taken? He said, if I had a chance to do it all over again, I would do the things like what you're doing. He was like, I would do something like that YouTube page. He said, you have such a gift of speaking to people, and just, that's one of your talents. He's like, I would take things like the music that you're able to do, the instruments that you can play, the photography, maybe find something with your fitness. He said, I would figure something out around your gifts and your passions, because he said you have so many gifts to be wasting them away, sitting in somebody's office like I did. He said, if I could do it all over again and I had the kind of talents that you have, I would not do the things that I did because happiness is important. And so, as I actually locked this in, because honestly, it's one thing talking to you for months and saying, oh, I'm going to interview Kara. 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 It's one thing to say that because it's just like, oh, it's just something in the future. It's like saying, oh, I'm going to go to the Bahamas. Um, I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to go see the Eiffel Tower. When you're saying that and it's something that's not actually being locked in, it's just a thing to say. But then when I actually sat down and put in the request and booked it, I was like, it's no longer just this thing in the air. It's an actual, we're about to lock down a date. I'm about to get into this interview mode again. And as I was thinking about it, I was like, I want this to be my best work. And I want this to be something that he would be proud of. I know he'd be proud of whatever I managed to put out. So it's not even like he would look at it and be like, oh, son, I would think that it would be better if you do this and tweak that. But I mean, when I say that, I mean, I want this to be something that anyone could look at this and be like, this is an amazing piece of work. And I want it to be something that gets my gears going back in that direction instead of this terrible rut that I've been in for all of 2024. 2024, I just feel like I've been stuck in this nasty cycle, and I can see this, just the feeling that I had after it was booked and just the creative juices going in my head already had me like, this is really my path. Not saying interviews in particular, I don't know how much more I'm going to do of that, but just every time I do things that I'm passionate about or that make me happy, I tend to think of more things that I can do and more things that I want to do. And every time I don't do those things and I do things that are mundane and don't make me feel anything, is the more that I feel nothing. My dad, I grew up with, was different than my dad later in life. We had to work through some stuff. Then I saw him become the dad I needed outside his comfort zone. I hope everyone experiences love like that. I'm thankful, even though my time of getting along with him in the way that I did was short. Hey, D, welcome back. Yeah, even though my time with him, my experience with him in that way was so short, some people don't get it at all. So I'm still grateful and thankful that I had 3 years of him telling me he's proud of me and that he supports me and he loves the things that I'm doing, my YouTube page, my music. And I know he would be right there, and every time cheering me on, just letting me know what a good job that he thinks that I'm doing. Like, so what I'm basically trying to say is he's a part of everything that I'm doing with this page. And yeah, I just want to make a piece of work that he'd be proud of. And it's a hard time of year. I mentioned that before. It's a hard time of year. But I'm going to take those difficult feelings, and I want to channel them. I want to channel them into something amazing, just like I did with this interview that I did with Sam. It was the same thing. That interview with Sam, I know I mention it a lot, but there's a reason why I mention it. It's because at the time I asked her for that interview, I was on the verge of quitting YouTube. And it had nothing to do with the success of my page, because actually, at the time when I ran into her, my page was at peak success. That was the most views I was having on the page, the most subscribers. The page, when I would go on live, I would have at least 30, 40 different people on the live, every single live, if not more. So it wasn't anything to do with the success of the page. It was the fact that I had just lost my dad, April 2023. And I met Sam in May of 2023. So I was heavily grieving still when I met her. And me asking her for the interview, I wanted to interview her since January, February, whenever the show actually aired. My dad was still alive at that time, and I was in a different mental space at that time. That's why I love this page, Mark. Thanks, D. As someone who doesn't even watch the challenge, I have mad respect for her. Sounds like your dad had a hard transition. Some man, you know what? That was him. And you know what I thought to myself? I guess he started expressing himself because he knew that he was leaving soon. Because he was telling me things that he never said to me my whole life. But he was saying those things to me every single day. Yeah, D. So coming up in about probably 2 to 3 weeks, I'm going to be interviewing her. Rachel. Anyways, shoot, I lost my train of thought again. Yeah, I was saying it's a hard time of year. Oh, yeah, I was talking about that Sam interview. So when I met up with her in May, I was not in a mind space really of doing interviews. And I guess I wanted an interview, but I kind of just also just wanted to meet her because I thought that she was cool based on what I saw on the TV. And I had just interviewed Chaz the month before my dad passed. So the first thing that I said to her when I saw her, I was like, "Hey Sam, I'm a fan of yours. I watched you on the circle. Congratulations on your win." She's like, "Oh, thank you." And then I said, "I interviewed Chaz 2 months ago," and she was like, "You want an interview with me?" She was like, "What do you want to do? You want to do an in-person interview? You want me to co-host something with you? Like, what do you want to do? Let me know what you want to do." You know how she talks so fast. She talks so fast. She talks a mile a minute. So I was just so taken back by her enthusiasm, because anyone else that I try to ask for interviews, it's like pulling teeth to get them to do these things. So because she was so enthusiastic, I was like, even though I don't feel in this mental space to do this right now, I'm going to find that space. I'm going to find that mental space and I'm going to do this thing. And then I went through this process of preparing for the interview. And when I say preparing, I mean preparing like I have never done before, top to bottom. I don't think that most people would realize all the details that went into that interview. Like my outfit. I went out, I picked out an outfit for that thing. I had to get the videographer. And then from there, I prepared all the questions. I went through all the questions. I was very thorough with my questions. And then I created cue cards. I created mindful reality cue cards that you'll see me holding if you looked at that interview. I was holding these cue cards that I made. I made the cue cards and I learned a trick from the Steve Wilkos show. Oh, you went back and rewatched the final episode so I could remember the people from her season. Yeah, so I learned this trick from the Steve Wilkos show. They have these cue cards that they use, and then they just they reuse the cue cards, and then they just tape whatever he needs to read onto the cue card. And then when the segment is done, they just remove that thing off of the cue card, and then they tape the next thing that he needs to read on the next cue card. So I did that. I made that. I made custom cue cards like that. I brought some props that I got from the Dollar Tree, which is now like the $1+ tree. It's basically just a regular 99-cent store at this point. The props. What else? Oh, I picked out that coffee shop that was in the background. Yeah, there was just a lot to that. There's a lot to that. And the process of putting that all together was so exciting to me that it was taking me out of a really depressive state. But then I woke up the morning of. The night before, I was excited. And I woke up the morning of. I mentioned this on my live the other day. This is the first time I ever said this. I woke up that morning and I just shed some tears because I was just so, I don't know, like maybe I was suppressing the loss in my head. And it came out that morning. And I'm like, of all the mornings for me to feel all these feelings, why would this be the morning of me doing this interview? Why does it have to be during this time? And then I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I couldn't believe I felt that way because at the time I was like, this is one of the biggest opportunities of my life to this point when it comes to my page. And I was so excited for it. And now I don't feel excited about it anymore. That morning, anyways. So I got up. I was like, all right, just get there. That's all. Just get there. And I got up, I got myself together, I got all my stuff ready. I got out the door. You're so intentional and creative. There's no way this isn't successful. You add. You also ask questions that are thoughtful and insightful. Thank you. So yeah, so I got there and Sam was like, where are you? And I was like, I'm here at the coffee shop. And then she was like, I'm here at the spot that you told me to meet at, and I don't see you. I'm looking up and down the block and I'm panicking because I'm not seeing her and she's saying she's here. And I'm like, did I give her the wrong address? This can happen in New York because we have so many of the addresses that look the same. And then I video called her on Instagram. And then we were able to realize that she was actually a block away. So she came over. Then the videographer tells me they're going to be late. And I was just like, everything is just wrong about this date. But like I said, we had this conversation before the thing started. Then I changed half the interview. I'm not even spontaneous like that, or I wasn't at the time. Now I feel like I'm a little bit more spontaneous of an interviewer than I was at that time. But at that time, I had all my questions planned out A to Z. And I was able to ask some extra questions. Like, for instance, off camera, she was talking to me about wanting to fight Jennifer. Jennifer was the combination of Brett and Xanthi on the circle. So the reason why she wanted to fight, what's it called, Jennifer, was because they became a catfish of a 50-something-year-old woman, and she said she shared so many intimate moments with them, including moments about, personal things that happened in her life, to where when she found out that Jennifer was the hacker, she thought that Jennifer was like somebody who came on there as Jennifer and pretended to be Jennifer, rather than these two people that got kicked off, and then the circle gave them an option to join together in an apartment under a new profile. That question was not something that I prepared, because that was something that I couldn't have known. It's something that she told me about in that coffee shop. And man, there's so much to that story. It started raining heavily right after the videographer arrived. It started raining so heavily. And I was like, everything is supposed to go wrong today. Everything is supposed to go wrong. She was like, no problem. We'll wait out the rain. I'm here as long as you need me to be here. Don't worry about it. She gets a call while it's raining, and I look at her and she looks distressed. I'll just say she had an issue. She had a family issue which I said to her, as much as I didn't even want to say this, but just the human side of me was just like, if you have to go take care of that, go take care of that. I wouldn't be mad. And she was like, no, I came here to see this thing through to the end. I'm going to see it through to the end. I forgot it was an interview. Like, Ma gave me some commentary the other day that she said it just looked like a conversation amongst friends. That's all it felt like. I came there prepared to do an interview. I prepared the same way I prepare for everything else. Hey, this is Sam, blah, blah, blah. Like, my intro that I gave her wasn't my intro. I thought of not the intro, not the sketch video, but after that, I said, hey, let's talk New York. That wasn't based on anything. I just thought of that right when we sat down, because we were talking about some different New York things beforehand. So I'm wrapping this up. We get the interview done, and then I didn't see that interview footage for like 2 months. 2 months I'm chasing this videographer, and I'm actually thinking I might not even get the footage. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. I get the footage back days before what would have been my dad's 72nd birthday. I released the interview on what would have been his birthday, August 29, 2023. So everything that I do with this is like, I think of him. Yeah, I learned a hardcore lesson, Charicity. A hardcore lesson. And I'll tell you what that lesson is. Don't just pick random people on the internet to do important things. Because what happened was I had a videographer lined up. Somebody that I could trust to do the job. And the thing was, she said to me, hey, do you have time at 11 o'clock a.m. on a Tuesday? Did I have time at 11 o'clock a.m. on a Tuesday? Not really. But as is the case with many of these interviews that I've gotten, if they say, Mark, I only have on the 7th at 7, then I guess I'm free on the 7th at 7. If y'all don't know, that's a Bruce Almighty reference. But anyways, if they said, I'm free on the 7th at 7. I'm like, yeah, I'm free on the 7th at 7 too. So I wasn't really free at all to do this interview at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday on a weekday when I work a 9 to 5 job. But I made myself available. So when I hit up the videographer, they were like, oh, I only have from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. on weekdays. And then I have weekends all day. And I wasn't going to try to reschedule with Sam because it already took me 3 months, May, June, July, 2.5 months or so to even get the schedule with her. It was so hard because she responded to me so sporadically. So then I went on a networking website, Facebook group that I'm on. And I was like, are there any videographers available at this time? What's your rate? Blah, blah, blah. And then a lot of people were like, oh, I can't do that particular time. I can't do that time. I can't do that time. Then one person was finally like, oh, I can do that time. And I didn't check for references, or I didn't ask other people who had booked them before to give me an example about their work, their professionalism, etc. And so I had the person, and when she came, she had her lighting fixtures, and she had her lapel mics, and she had all her equipment, and I was all excited about that. And then she showed up 45 minutes late, which was already, I was pissed about that. And then I signed a contract where I paid a 50% deposit. And then on the contract, it says you will have your footage within, I want to say that it said 3 to 7 days. And if it is going to take longer than that, you're going to be informed. So she said to me, right after we finished, she said, this interview was terrific. Like, she said to me, I'm even going to go watch The Circle. I've never seen it before, but based on this interview, I'm going to go watch The Circle. And she said, and I'm going to have this video for you in a week. Thank you so much for booking me. A week comes, and I reach out to her like, hey, how's everything going with the video? Blah, blah, blah. She says to me, I'm sorry, unfortunately, I had a big project that I'm working on, so I'm not going to be able to get the footage done this week, but I'll have it to you by the end of next week at the latest. I said, okay, no problem. I wasn't that pressed. Even though it did say that on the contract, I wasn't that pressed to press her over taking 2 weeks instead of one, especially being that I do video work sometimes, and I've had things that have pushed things back before. But 2 weeks comes, and I'm like, nah, you told me 1 week. I already paid you all the money, because the thing was, you pay half to book her, and then you pay the other half on the day of the shoot. So I was just like, oh, now it's 2 weeks. I'm messaging her. I'm texting her, Facebooking her. She's not responding. A month went by. I hit up Sam because I was so distraught. And I was like, Sam, again, thank you so much for doing this interview with me. I don't know if that interview is ever going to see the light of day, because the girl who recorded it, I don't know what she did with the footage. She said it would be done within a week. Then she said 2 weeks, and then she has not responded in a month. Radio silence. Sam was like, oh no, I'm so sorry. I was like, this is devastating. It was so devastating. And it's because it also had a really personal moment in that footage where I told her about my dad in the footage, in the end of the footage. And I wanted to see that specific part again. I told her at the end of the interview about my dad and how watching those moments of her on the show helped me get through a tough time before he passed, when he was in hospice care. And I would look forward to those funny little moments that, I could sit and laugh about. And I thought I was never going to see it. I even apologized to her for like wasting her time. And then finally, honestly, the way that I got that footage was I had to threaten small claims court. I was asking around to see my legal options. Now, the toughest part about this, it was a guarantee that she wasn't going to be able to run off with my money because I have all the receipts. I can get my money back in small claims court. Like, that part of it wasn't a thing. Like, I could get the money back. The scary part is if she wanted to be really spiteful, I could have just gotten the money back and not the footage. And I was terrified of that exact thing happening. But like I said, a few days before what would have been my dad's birthday, she produces the footage. I can exhale because I was feeling a ball of anxiety for months. Because just imagine, this is the first thing that I do since losing my dad for my page. I had taken a hiatus from the page. And I put so much heart and soul into this thing. And I was feeling like I'm never even going to see this footage. But anyways, that's all. All's well that ends well. It felt like a loss, for real. I already felt like I lost it. My mind had already been like, it's gone. This thing that I put so much work into is just, it's like it never happened. It's like, it's in my mind and it's in Sam's mind and it's in that videographer's mind, but nobody's ever going to see it. But anyways, like I said, all is well that ends well. I got the footage. I put it out on my dad's birthday. I did like 2 or 3 more interviews after that one. I feel like I lost passion for doing interviews. I took the whole of 2024 off, and we're starting 2025 with a bang. This is a big, 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 big deal for me. And I'm hoping that having someone like Cara will open doors. Because let me tell you something. Half of this challenge cast that you see on this TV this year, I asked for interviews. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. And I'm running to physical therapy in a little bit. I spent so much time on this live. I didn't expect to spend this much time. That just means I'm getting back into it. That's a good thing. Just means I'm getting back into it. All right. Okay. Great footage, by the way. Thank you. Yeah, the money, honestly, the money meant nothing to me about that particular thing. The money meant nothing. Like, already had made that money back 2-3 times over. So it wasn't a money thing at all. It wasn't a money thing at all. It was just a devastation of what that interview meant to me and all the work that I put into it. And just the thought of me never seeing that terrible. There's a thing that I was closing off with. Oh yeah, so I didn't do any interviews in 2024, and but then towards the end of the year, I was like, man, I would really like to get back into it. I miss it. I miss doing that. And Kara wasn't on my radar, just like Sam wasn't on my radar. I literally found Sam. I met Sam just because I was on Instagram one night, and it just popped up that she was going to be at this nightclub. I was like, I wonder if I should go. It's like, okay. I decided to go. Random. Just like with Kara, I would never think that I would meet her because she pops up in New York randomly at a fibroids event, fibroids awareness. That's how I met her. So I feel like things are just lining up in a certain way. Oh, and I was saying half of the cast of 2024, I've asked for an interview. Rachel, Michelle, Tori, like I think Olivia was on there at one point. I asked Olivia, a bunch of them. None of them have said yes. They've said what you do on your page is cool, but I'm not doing that. So to get one of the biggest names I would have ever wanted, actually the top two people that I would have wanted to interview, I interviewed one already, and she's going to be the other. So yeah, I hope it opens some doors. I hope that it sparks my passion again, and that's it. I have more to say, but I have things to do. So thank you for joining me. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified of when I drop some more great content. Thank you all for joining.